Okay, so I found my addiction for the next hour and a half. Spectator Races V8 class, Shawano Speedway, Wisconsin, Shawano Fair. I guess I'm saying that right. Okay, this is cool. This is fun. You see, this is real racing. The fans have already picked out their favorite. They don't want the Jap car. They want this old Oldsmobile. I mean, you can feel the different crowds in the group, and you can hear the you can hear the tension rise in their voice as the race is really close, and it doesn't matter that both of these guys are street cars and can't drive that well. When they come around that last corner and they're both just like neck and neck, and everyone in the crowd is just damn near standing on their feet. That's racing. That is the spirit of racing. What's sad about, the first car race happened after the second car rolled off the assembly line? Yeah, people who haven't experienced racing. Now, I'm watching these guys, and I can tell you that this car is outclassed. He's going against a turbocharged four-wheel drive, 800 pounds less weight, 85 more horsepower, and he beats the guy. Because on this dirt track, yeah, it evens things up. I like that. That's awesome. It really is awesome. I'm going to subscribe to their page. That's pretty cool. Subscribe. People don't. You get this shit all the time. This is what I used to get all the time, okay? Was people would say, well, what's your bike running? Because I set my Hayabusa's drag bikes up to beat 95% of everyone that came to the track. Anyone that wants to go faster than a 999 or a 10.0 is doing damage to their bike. Or they have way more motorcycle that they have to maintain. So the first 3 years that I went out there with the custom bikes. So we're talking about bikes that aren't just a drag bike. We're talking about and not something stupid either. These bikes had to look like street bikes, where when you looked at the bike, the proportions of the motorcycle looked like it came that way. It didn't look 8 inches longer than a standard Hayabusa. And so when I would build the bikes that looked like that, really there weren't any great expectations other than I had an 8-inch slick and a wheelie bar. Now, running a 999, which is what the bikes were set up to run, every race, okay? That's what the bike was set up to run. No more, no less. And so I tried to run as close to a 10.0 as possible. A 10.00 anything for me was a perfect run. Other people are like, dude, that bike will do an 8.9. How come you're babying it? Da, da, da. And I'm like, because you're not paying for it. You see, this is an absolute fact. I could take a Hayabusa, set it up where it's the best looking fucking bike on the property. We'll run 10.0 every fucking pass perfectly. And you won't replace a clutch for 3 years. Let me say that again. You won't replace your clutch for 3 years. Because if you're going to run a wheelie bar, first off, that allows you to be very brave off the line. And you're not worried about looping a bike. Because when I was young, when I was 16 years old, I could loop my bike and get hurt, and I'd be okay 2 weeks later. I tried to explain to these kids, hey man, when you're 60 years old, things are differently. You don't want to come shooting off the back of your bike and have it land on you at 50, 60 miles an hour, because it only takes just a few feet to get going 50 miles an hour on a Busa with a drag slick. And so I've always run wheelie bars, always. I just can't see not doing it for the safety, okay? Because they don't even call them wheelie bars anymore. They call them safety bars. You see these guys with, and they're going, heating up the side of their tires, doing fucking nothing. Nothing. You see, he's learned to take that slick and roll it all over the fucking place. And when you look at it, it's not even a flat slick. It's a road race slick. It's a round slick. And so you're only using this much of the tire. So rolling that thing up on the fucking sidewall close to the rim is just ignorant. Okay? It's doing nothing but putting fucking heat inside the air in the tire. That's all you're doing. The only reason, if the track is prepped well, the only reason for warming your tire slightly, okay, is to clean off all the shit that you've picked up to the water box, from your trailer to the water box, okay? That's it. And a lot of times I wouldn't even bother with it because I have my bike set up to run a 10-0. And I would go up and I'd run it up. I did have an electric over air, and I had a stager on it. I had everything so I could, just pin the throttle and then leave. And, I had all those electronics. I just never used them because, again, hard on the bike. So normally what I would do is I would take it up to 10,000 RPM, and I would try to hit 10,000 RPM just as the yellow light was coming on. And then at that point, I would just basically go half clutch. So between an 07 and an 02 light is good for me. A 0.2 light for me would be bad because I've been doing it my entire life. My entire life. And so it's just natural for me. Like John Force, he's getting pretty old too, but see what he says in his mind is light gas, light gas. He has this time that he's ingrained. He's not thinking within 1/100th of a second. No human, you're not capable of doing that. You have to figure out a timing scheme with the lights that works for you. That now, if you're red lighting all the time, now that's fucked up because it's really hard to make an adjustment. Just as well as if you're running a 0.1, it's really fucking hard to get any better than that because that's when you start red lighting, because now you're trying to predict in less of a time span than your body is capable of reacting. I'm going to be watching this for hours. People don't get to go fast. Most people have never been 0 to 100 in under 3 seconds. Most people don't know when you see these reaction videos of people taking folks out in their 1,600 horsepower or whatever down the road and then having them all go, because they've never been fast. And the guy's like, yeah, that was 140 miles an hour. I'm like, well, dude, that's third gear on my bike. So you can impress someone who's never been over 90 miles an hour really easy, especially the feeling of acceleration. Most people haven't been in a vehicle that will set you back with more than a G of acceleration. So it's really easy to shock people. Most people have never been fast. And that's probably for the best. But I wish everyone could experience it so that when you're watching an IndyCar race, or you're watching a Formula One race, or you're watching a NASCAR race, okay? Or a GP, whatever it is, whatever race car show you're watching, if you know what 190 miles an hour feels like, If you've been 190 miles an hour, when you see that on TV and it looks like they're doing 55 miles an hour, you understand what's actually going on. When you're going over 200 miles an hour, unless you've been over 200 miles an hour, when a stock car is going down the straightaway at 200 miles per hour, it seems fast because it sounds loud, and they got the camera that's stationary and the cars go by. Shoo, 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 shoo. That gives you some sense of how fast they're going. But until you've actually been that fast, you don't understand, wow, that guy behind the wheel is pretty fucking talented and he's got huge balls. Because TV just has never done justice to racing in any way, I don't think, right? Nothing that I know of. No race series. Oh, by the way, Old Smokey bit it. I'm glad he's okay. Old Smokey went off on Lightning Corner, rolled a shitload of times in the snow. Yeah, that was one of my favorite trucks, that diesel. He was in a battle with a couple of the other designed to go fast diesels this year. That's kind of a shame. Old Smokey bites the dust. Doesn't look like it'll get rebuilt. It looks pretty bad. Yeah, looks pretty bad. Okay, that's my racing ramble for the day. Racing. This is racing. Spectator drag Shawano. Yeah, that's fun. This is fun. You see, you really don't. If it's real racing we're talking about, you don't need a lot of money and you don't need a lot of car. What you need is closely matched drivers so that everyone in this crowd, I can tell you, is knowledgeable. Even some of the younger kids, okay? You can feel it and you can see it in the way they react as a crowd. It's massively just packed. And when the race is close, you can see the surge, everybody getting up and on the edge of their seat, and is it gonna make it? And then the crowd goes wild. And I'm thinking, that's a $1,100 fucking Buick Regal the guy's out there beating on, you know what I mean? And really, that's the spirit of racing, I think. It really is. Being able to enjoy the competition between two individuals, especially when these guys, they're not trying to crash. I didn't see a single time when anyone touched another car. There was some that were like kind of maybe close, but no more than freeway driving. And I mean, it's just racing. It's the purest form of racing. I didn't see how much they're paying them. I might have to do a little more research here. I'm hoping that they have more videos like this, or that it happens at more places. I did see a couple where they were racing around an oval, but there wasn't that many. I think there was only like 12 cars, so they only had like 6 pairs, and it really wasn't like this one where it was like multiple eliminations. I think you had to lose twice in this one to be eliminated. Pretty cool, pretty fun, real racing. You know what I mean? Being a racer my whole life, I can enjoy almost any race sport. I have a preference for Formula One and WRC. Those are my two preferentials. After that, probably, all the LMP kind of stuff. Experimental cars, factory Porsches, Ferraris and stuff where they're basically turned loose to do almost anything. And then maybe NASCAR after that. NASCAR kind of went away. I was a big NASCAR fan and I really enjoyed it. And I grew up when AJ Foyt had fucking hair. I'm watching NASCAR on Wide World of Sports, okay? I go back a long ways and I can tell you that it's been ruined by people who want to manage the fucking race in a way that suits we have to get it in exactly this time to fit the TV schedule, da-da-da-da-da. It's all about the logistics and sponsorship money, because it's gotten so fucking stupid with the cars. You know, they don't. You don't have to. They could be racing $80,000 cars right now, and people would get the same thrill, just like these people racing these fucking turds, and the crowd is going wild because it's not about the car; it's about the driver. It's about that spirit of racing. You know what I mean? And when I see, Formula One, they having to have money caps and all of this to make the sport even, has just made it worse. You have a lineup of cars that you can almost say, okay, this car is going to finish first, and this car is going to finish last. And within a reasonable percentage, you can pick each point where they're going to finish. You could at least say these three teams are going to finish mid-pack. These three teams are going to finish in the back. These three teams are going to finish in the front. If you can do that, I say your fucking race series sucks. You've done something wrong. You've taken the racing part out, and you've made it a fucking rolling technicality. My cure for that is to go the stupid route and have the X class where anything is fucking allowed. You want two motors in your Formula One car? Go ahead. You want a motor on every wheel plus a fucking 1,000 horsepower V10, whatever you want, do it. You see, and just let every weekend, you've got all these cars that show up and no one has any fucking idea who's going to be bringing what. It could be absolutely anything. People would go and watch that, because that is a car-related design, engineering, fan of this type, fan of open wheel, fan of, you know what I mean? You could attract that crowd with that kind of racing. But now, if we do that, you take the driver out completely. A driver against that type of a designed system wouldn't be able to drive his way out of inequality, because you didn't limit the class in the right way. Now, having a supercar that you limit anyway is fucking stupid. It's dumb. You need to, there is an area between these guys, spectator racing at Shawano, and a full-blown fucking NASCAR race. There are areas below that people would go, just as many people would go and watch, maybe even more. Ooh, wouldn't that fucking piss NASCAR off if you said you can't spend more than $100,000 on your car? You can build any fucking part you want, but you can't spend more than $100,000 on it, period. Now you're leaving the imagination, because people could make their own shit. People could design stuff any way they wanted, okay? And everyone in the crowd would know there's no money advantage here. It's only the best team as well as the best driver. So now you're basically the driver, especially having input on the design. Okay, you're building a car around a driver, and that's even more fan-based kind of a thing, right? Where this guy in this car, not this guy in that car, this guy in this car, not this guy in any fucking car out there, which is how it is now. You got your top 5 drivers, put them in any fucking car out there, and they're going to perform exceptionally well. So you either have to have mystery, right? Or if you're going to put a money cap on it, for God's sakes, don't make it $125 million. Right? Don't make it $125 million. Okay, one more thing I have to bitch about here. Fucking Formula One, not wanting the Andrettis to come into Formula One. A sport that says, we don't want you involved because it might split up the fucking money, says spectators are shit. That's what Formula One is telling me as a Formula One fan, especially with the abortion of a broadcast that they did last time, okay? Yeah, that was so bad. And I didn't have a choice. Everyone's like, oh, well, you should have watched the other alternate broadcast. Well, I didn't have the fucking alternate broadcast. I had to watch someone who knew shit about racing ask inane questions during a race with absolutely crappy fucking camera work. If that happens again, I will be ditching my box and I'll just watch highlights. I'll no longer be a Formula One fan and I will be ditching my satellite. I'm not going to be paying the $80 a month I pay for my DirecTV video recorder. Basically, that's all I use it for. There's no need for me to have it anymore. I'll just watch highlights on YouTube, which is what I did last race. After that, I tried to watch it, but it was so painful, okay, that I turned down the sound. And now I have a little bit of race going over here, and these guys' face, and I like Ricardo, but here's these guys is taking up my screen space, and I want to be watching car racing. Whoever thought this was a good idea, or whoever even considered this as a fucking idea, is crazy. Okay, would you do that for NASCAR? Would you have the race happening up here in a corner and then watching the hosts sit there and ask stupid fucking questions for 2 hours? No one would watch it. There'd be outrage. No one did like that broadcast. They thought it was a very, very bad idea, but it's supposed to happen more and more. So I guess I'll be making a decision about that pretty soon. If I don't have access to that alternate broadcast, then I don't know. I'm not going to sit through that again. That was fucking painful. I won't have to worry about recording it. Nothing. I'll just put it on YouTube the next day, and I'll see the announcers that I've been grown used to announcing in a way that shows that they're literate when it comes to Formula One. And that will have to suffice. You know what I mean? Maybe I'll try to get a ticket to go to a live event in the United States, something like that. But nah, I don't know. If it's going to be that way, I won't be watching. So my new next couple of hours, most likely addiction, spectator V8 class racing on a dirt oval. Not even an oval. It's got 2 straightaways. It's a dirt track for dirt racing, you know what I mean? But it's just everyday guys out there in their cars bringing the spirit of racing alive. It's fucking awesome.